The Aromas of Avalon. Experiment 1. The Synthesis of Esters. King Arthur's Avalon. Avalon is derived from Welsh, Inis Avalon, from Aphel, meaning apple. It is a legendary island in Arthurian literature, first appearing in the Welsh cleric Geoffrey of Monmouth's pseudo-historical Historia Regum Britanniae. While Geoffrey of Monmouth introduces Avalon into the written Arthurian corpus, he probably does so because it is a traditional feature in the Welsh oral Arthurian tradition. On Avalon, tradition holds that not only apple trees grow in abundance, but many fruit-producing and non-fruit-producing plants do so as well. Avalon is a place where food production, meaning agriculture, is non-existent. The island produces all the food that its inhabitants, who all have very long lifespans, need entirely free of cultivation and animal husbandry. What other mythological locales does Avalon resemble? Avalon is where the sword Excalibur is forged, and where Arthur is in hospice, succumbing to wounds suffered at the Battle of Camlan. The Battle of Camlan was a legendary battle between the forces of Arthur and the force of Mordred, the knight who betrays Arthur while the latter is campaigning against the Romans on the continent. Arthur kills Mordred, but Mordred fatally wounds Arthur. Again, after the Battle of Camlan, Arthur convalesces on Avalon, this very special island where life abounds. This quality is especially manifested in its abundance of fruit, not just apples, but also every kind of fruit. Now, when it comes to aroma, it's the class of carboxylic acid derivatives that we call esters that are most responsible for fruitiness. Nature has its own way of synthesizing these. To be sure, it's the best way. Yet we clever Homo sapiens can make them too, via organic chemical synthesis. As you know by now, many organic reactions do not go to completion. The Fischer esterification is one of them, which is why the reaction is shown as an equilibrium. Here the problem is that water, which is a byproduct of the forward reaction, and alcohol are near equals as nucleophiles, meaning that water can do the same thing to an ester substrate that what alcohol can do to a molecule of carboxylic acid. See the mechanism for details. Consequently, when the concentration of both the ester product and water byproduct of the forward reaction reaches a critical point, the back reaction competes with the forward reaction. To overcome the problem, we need to manipulate the conditions so that the system will favor the forward reaction in the interest of achieving dynamic equilibrium. This behavior is described by Le Chatelier's principle. We can do it one of two ways: use excess reactant or remove product as it forms. A better way to make an ester is to use a carboxylic anhydride as a substrate. Because its living group is a terrific leaving group, and since the resulting carboxylic acid byproduct is consequently a horrible nucleophile, there is no back reaction. Looking at the mechanism, note that the reaction goes to completion. The one and only fundamental problem with this route is the removal of a carboxylic acid byproduct. But that can be done via liquid-liquid extraction using an aqueous base. Typologically, who is Arthur? According to the oral Arthurian tradition, though he is gravely wounded, King Arthur never really dies. Someday, Arthur will return to lead his people to victory over their enemies. How does our response to the question above affect our interpretation of what Avalon represents?